'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Crossed
Told
the
you it was
desert,
obscure.
bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've travelled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour,
Coffs Harbour.
Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Marilla,
Coffs Harbour.
Limmerville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathround, Prosper,
Coffs Harbour.
Darwin, Ginger, Lilliquin, Muckilla, Wallamilla, Buggerville, Cumberland, Ramakilla. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man.
I'll tell you what, we have been everywhere, man. We've been all over Australia, but I tell you where we haven't been yet is Coffs Harbour. Good morning to you, Terry Daniel in Coffs Harbour.
Good morning, boys. How are we?
Doing very, very well indeed. Thanks for joining us on Regional Roundup. It's very nice to have caught up again. You and I have caught up, obviously, a couple of times, Terry, in various podcasts along the way. But today is all about Coffs Harbour. Where is it? Tell us a bit about it.
Okie dokie. Well, I guess the best way to describe Coffs Harbour is we're on the Pacific Highway between Brisbane and Sydney. We're about halfway, right on the east coast. We do actually have a harbour. There is a marina there, and the fishing boats and the sailing boats and everything come and go. Whale watching and all that sort of stuff off the coast. So we're right on the east coast and a popular holiday spot for people to come. I guess that famous thing that people do know about is the Big Banana. If you come into Coffs, just on the northern side of town, you go right past the Big Banana, and that's pretty much a famous icon in Coffs Harbour.
And like the Big Pineapple, when you stop, you could describe it as underwhelming.
Yes, I guess so, yeah.
Well, at very best, whelming.
One of the things you've got to do if you go into the Big Banana is you've got to have a chocolate-dipped banana. There you go. That's add that to your repertoire.
Yep, and we're just going to let that sail straight past through to the wicketkeeper. The important question, you may not know the answers because I know you haven't been there all your life. Who was Mr. Coff, and why do they name a harbour after him?
Oh, okay, yes. His name was John Coff. It was actually spelt with a K rather than a C. And John Coff was a pioneer, and I think he had something to do with sailing in the area, like bringing, because boats used to come up the Bellingen River and go to Bellingen and places like that, which is just south of Coffs. And so, yeah, the gentleman's name is John Coff with a K. He's the man responsible for naming Coffs Harbour.
That's so Australian, isn't it? What's your name, mate? How do you spell that? I don't worry about it. I'll work it out.
Yeah.
You know what Aussies are like. They'll always, change it around a little bit at least.
Yeah. Well, even the fact we called it Coffs instead of Coffs Harbour is interesting. So what does Coffs Harbour exist to do? I mean, clearly bananas grow nearby, otherwise you wouldn't have a big banana there. But what's the primary drive for the town these days?
These days, I guess it would be tourism now. Yes, in the years gone by, bananas were certainly big. They still are.
Well, there's one on the highway that's very big.
We've also now got blueberries being grown. Timber is still out the back. They're still, they're doing forest and getting into trouble with the greenies all the time. But it's basically a tourism area now. Very much the hinterland behind Coffs is fantastic. It's some areas yet to be developed. But if I think about, for example, Dorrigo, which is a spot behind us up in the hills, the Dorrigo rainforest area is a magic spot to visit. Plus, Coffs have some magic beaches stretching from, say, Woolgoolga in the north, which is another tourist spot, and then down to, say, Nambucca Heads in the south. That whole coastal stretch is a magic spot to live in. Great climate. We have the best climate according to the powers to be. One of the best climates around in the world. Good temperatures and good, not too much humidity that if you go further north you'll definitely get.
You obviously haven't had July in Geelong. That's classic weather. I don't know who's doing the judging. It's all a matter of opinion, isn't it, Neil?
That's right. Please don't wear a toupee in Geelong during July would be our only advice to you, Terry. So I would have thought that if you ask a lot of Victorians what Coffs Harbour's about, they would suggest it's also a place a lot of people go to retire because of that climate.
Yes, that's true. Or if they don't do that, they certainly bring their caravans and motorhomes up here from about May through to October. There's a Mexican exodus that moves up this way, and then in about a week or two's time, we'll see them going back down the highway, heading back home to get back to Melbourne for Christmas.
Well, of course, it is going to be a week of 20s this week in Melbourne, so that might be enough to get them moving.
Usually I think they want to be back by the Melbourne Cup, something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, we've got grand finals at the moment to worry about, so that'll drag a few back, I suspect. Now, we don't normally divert off the track too much about the town, but we might as well, because I reckon there'd be people going, I know that bloke's voice from somewhere. Why would people know the voice of Terry Daniel?
Well, these days I'm involved with a company called Air News. I own Air News, and Air News is a a company that supplies radio news to community stations around Australia, hundreds of them around Australia that need a news service. So you might catch my voice top of the hour on your local favourite community station.
Top of the hour, yes. It's all coming back to me now, Terry.
Yeah, Rob's just gone, that's where I know his voice from. Yes, indeed. In fact, I don't like to draw out to the fact that it's only been the once, but I've in fact once done a report on Air News. I think I was at a football match. And someone rang and said, "Can you report on this for us?" Yeah, sure. Neil Butler, Air News. So, yes, that happened. I reckon that'd be 6 or 7 years ago. That'd be before you had the business, I would have thought.
Yes, probably would have been. Yes, probably would have been back then. I've also been involved in commercial radio. I started off in Alice Springs many years ago and then moved to Orange in the central west of New South Wales. And then finally, I came here to Coffs Harbour in 1985 when Coffs Harbour got its very first commercial station. That was Radio 2CS. I was the program director and breakfast announcer in Coffs Harbour for many years. So, yeah, I still wander around town and people go, "Oh, that's what you're doing now."
Yeah. Oh, is that what you look like? Do you get a bit of that when people first meet you and they go, "Oh, I know the voice. Is that what you look like?"
Yeah, that's always a problem in radio, isn't it?
Well, not when you look like Rob. Because
Rob for radio here.
Rob does quite a lot of male modelling. No, he doesn't. No, seriously, if you could see him, you'd know how silly that is. No, it's a really important service, and I think that as people get sick and tired of commercial radio and start to tune into things like online radio and also community stations, I suspect they're going to hear your voice a bit more.
That's true. Yeah, they will too. And believe it or not, during COVID, we thought we'd struggle, but obviously community stations don't have a lot of money, not like the commercial world, and so for some of them it was very difficult to continue to run their service. But we did discover that a lot of little stations, narrowcasting and online stations all popped up, and they all realised that news was really important to keep their listeners informed, and so there was a little bit of an increase in the number of people that have now taken the news service, which is great, and those people have stayed on board after COVID, which is great.
Well, many of them have. I know one station that sadly couldn't afford to keep going with that service. It was a great service, but part of the problem with not being able to run the service with human beings made it a little bit tricky, but never mind. No doubt it will happen again, Terry, I promise.
Oh, I'm sure it will, Rob. I'm sure it will, Neil.
Absolutely. So let's suppose we've got a few people jumping in their camper van and they're heading to Coffs Harbour for a week in mid-October to get away from the Spring Racing Carnival. What are the two things they must do while they're in the region?
All right. Well, I guess, you can have a visit to the Big Banana if you've never been there before. I would certainly recommend a visit up into the hinterland, take a run up through the Dorrigo rainforest and just have a look up there. There's a beautiful lookout where you walk out over the top of the forest. You can walk down through the forest down to Crystal Falls and check out that area. Of course, there's the beaches too. If you don't get to go to a good beach in Victoria, there's plenty of beaches for a swim. The water temperature will be on the way up again, so that'll be good. One thing you should be wary of too, there's a lot of roadworks going on around Coffs Harbour at the moment. We are the last piece in the jigsaw puzzle of the Pacific Highway between Brisbane and Sydney that hasn't been either bypassed.
Okay.
Other towns like Kempsey and Taree have been bypassed years ago.
Yep.
And Harbour now is finally getting our bypass.
So it's actually going to go around town?
Yeah, we'll go around the back of town. They've got to build through tunnels, 3 tunnels altogether through the mountain range out the back, and we'll eventually come back into the highway north of Coffs Harbour. We'll leave about 6k south of Coffs. It goes off to the west, diverts around the mountains, and then through the tunnels, and then back around a place called Karora to the north of Coffs Harbour. About 6k's to the north is where the highway comes back again.
Okay.
That will eliminate. Well, it'll save motorists anything up to 12 to 15 minutes of travel time, and truck drivers, of course, as well.
Yeah.
It'll bypass at least 12, 13 sets of traffic lights, and it'll also take about 12,000 vehicles out of the city centre every day. So that's going to be great.
Absolutely, because I can, most Victorians, if they're going to Brisbane, will generally drive up the Newell, and part of the reason for that is they avoid Sydney and they avoid that horrible Pacific Highway. If the Pacific Highway now is dodging towns where you have the choice to go in and spend time at the Big Banana in Coffs Harbour or not, that certainly makes it more appealing to go that way.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, years ago, when I first came to Coffs Harbour, for me to drive from Coffs to Sydney, that was nearly a 6-hour or 6 and a 3/4 to 7-hour drive. I can do that now from my place to the top of Hornsby, like that's the outskirts,
Yep.
outskirts of Sydney, in 5 hours. With
Wow.
limits. That's, it's just so good now. You've got no problem with passing trucks. It's dual lane all the way, and you're either on 110 or 100 kilometres all the way, which is great.
And of course, being a media mogul, most of the time you'd go by helicopter anyway, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Terry, great to catch up. Thanks for telling us about Coffs Harbour. I'll be certainly in touch at some stage soon to have a chat about other stuff as well. But great to have you on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Fantastic. Thanks, boys. Have a great day.
Rob had to duck in next door, so he's waving to you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.